This is The Rewind. I'm your host, Dan DeBruler. Today's guest is Alex McFarland. Alex is a very well-known apologist and author of several books, and the premise for today's conversation is a visit he's making to the Fayetteville area very soon with the Truth for a New Generation seminar. Alex, thank you so much for joining us today. We are definitely looking forward to seeing you when you come to the Fayetteville area with the Truth for a New Generation seminar along with Josh McDowell and Mark Mittelberg.
Well, thanks very much. Yes, I'm from North Carolina, so I've definitely known of Fayetteville for a long time, and we just have so many wonderful friends down that way. But we did a prayer rally here a couple of years ago, and I announced it, in our newsletter and everything, and a lot of people came out. In fact, over 2,000 people came out and spoke at Rockfish Church a couple of years ago and just fell in love with those people over there, and Dr. Dan Stanley and some of his staff like Dustin Whittington and a lot of great people. And so we are doing this tour across America, the Truth for a New Generation tour, to really tell people about the gospel and the evidence for Christianity, to really to help fight the growth of socialism and tell young people about, God and country. And so about a year ago, we began to talk with Rockfish Church about coming and bringing TNG, Truth for a New Generation, to Fayetteville, and it's going to begin a week from today, May 3, 4, and 5. We're very excited. I was on the phone even yesterday with some people coming from Raleigh and coming from down east. So we believe that something very special is going to happen as we have a seminar on what is Christianity, how do we know it's true, how can we pass the faith on to those around us. And we've got myself and, of course, the great music of Rockfish Church, but then a couple of national speakers that are very, very respected and, frankly, beloved speakers, one of whom is Josh McDowell, the other is Mark Mittelberg.
Now, even with all that we see in the news and certainly within political circles these days, is there more reason than what we see? Are there statistics to say now is the time to get serious about why you believe what you believe?
Absolutely. Let me say, in every generation, there's always people that need Christ, and the church in every generation is called to preach the gospel and fulfill the Great Commission. But really more than ever, and, I've got to be honest with you, I've spoken on more than 200 college campuses, spoken or debated in more than 200 university campuses. And I would say that our Constitution really is at risk. We've, in the last 10 years, seen the rise of atheism and the rise of Islam, and the rise of really a militant secularism. And now young people, even professed Christian young people, are interested in socialism. They're very much, unless they've gone to a Christian school, they're really almost coached to hate America. And right now, of kids raised in church, 70 to 88%, think about this, 1% would be too many, but 70 to 88% of kids raised in a Christian home, go to youth group, Christian school. After they graduate from high school, 70 to 88% will walk away from church, never to return. And so more than ever, we need a Holy Spirit revival. We need a move of God's Spirit. But a big part of what God is doing is showing young people, and frankly all people, that it is true. Christianity is true. Christianity is real. The evidence for the Bible and for Jesus is compelling. But most of all, the most compelling part of all is that the purpose of life is to have a relationship with Christ and to walk with the Lord our entire life. But I would say we're doing this because individuals need Christ, but without a move of the gospel, our nation can't survive. Truly.
Well, with young people, even from Christian homes, walking away from church and from Christianity, essentially, in numbers like that, how does a seminar like this outfit us better? Do the parents walk away saying, man, I have got to do more with my children, or are we sending them into the community? How do we affect that?
Great question. Great question. A couple of the speakers that will be there, one is Josh McDowell. Josh is one of the most, I would say, one of the most significant Christian leaders on the planet. For 50 years, Josh McDowell has been absolutely at the cutting edge of apologetics and the evidence for the Christian faith. So much of what Josh McDowell predicted 20 years ago, that our lack of biblical knowledge, the breakdown of the family, lack of discipleship within the home was going to yield a certain outcome, and Josh was right on the money. I mean, things Josh McDowell was saying 20 years ago have come to pass, to a detail. And the majority, let me just say this, part of what we're encouraging people to do, and we don't mean to be all doom and gloom, but we do need to be realistic about our need for a move of God. But moms and dads that don't pray together as a couple, families that really don't have a meal together anymore, Josh is challenging us to get back to the thing that matters most, which is building Christian families and having strong marriages before our kids. Mark Mittelberg, the number one, hands down, the number one evangelism trainer in America. And church growth is flat or declining. And there's Greg Laurie says this, now think about this, and I know Cumberland County is a great place, and Fayetteville we love, but Greg Laurie documents that there's not a county in America that's had a net increase in conversion growth in 10 years. I mean, think about that. And on Good Friday, a week ago, Fox News had a report. It said church attendance in America plummets, and experts are concerned. So Mark Mittelberg is the number one evangelism trainer in America, and he's going to talk to us about how to win people to Christ, how to talk to my neighbor about Christ, and do it in a way that's effective. And so at a time when really church growth in terms of new believers and people being evangelized, it's essentially non-existent. We're going to talk about how your church can jumpstart their outreach. And Mittelberg, by the way, he's a great man of God. He is the guy that discipled a young believer named Lee Strobel. Lee Strobel wrote The Case for Christ. It sold 10 million copies. And often when I'm with Mark, I'll say, wow, you're the guy who mentored and discipled Lee Strobel. That's a pretty good day's work. But I'll be there. I'll be talking about biblical worldview from my 18 books that God's allowed me to write. And, 35, 40 appearances on Fox News and CNN. I'm going to be talking about where the culture is and how we must talk about morality and God in our culture today. So Josh is going to be talking about families. Mittelberg is going to be talking about evangelism. I'm going to be talking about the battle of worldviews in our culture at large. And there's going to be tangible takeaway for individuals, families, and groups to know how to thrive as a Christian in the 21st century. I do want to say how much I appreciate Rockfish Church and Dr. Dan Stanley opening his door to us. They're phenomenal people. I do want to give our website, which is truthforanewgeneration.com, truthforanewgeneration.com. Our entire tour is sponsored in partnership with Liberty University. We couldn't do what we do without Liberty University, and their website is liberty.edu, a phenomenal Christian school. But we can't wait to come to Fayetteville, and I would just urge people everywhere to pray and promote and plan to attend. It is free. There's not an admission charge. It would help us, folks, if you went on our website and registered truthforanewgeneration.com. But we are asking, we're partnering with a food bank, and we're working with several groups, and I, in the interest of time, I won't name all the names, but to bring cans of food, 5 cans of food, non-perishable food, obviously, canned food, and we're going to be, and we're doing this all across America, but in lieu of a registration fee, if you would bring food that we can share with the local food banks and distribute to citizens of Fayetteville and Cumberland County, Rayford, Hope Mills, our troops at Fort Bragg. And so we're just excited to give nourishment for the body and the soul as the Truth for a New Generation tour comes to Fayetteville.
And Alex, we're excited for it too. And 5 cans of food seems like a pretty nominal fee to begin to rescue this generation and the ones on down the line. So I'm in.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And, you know, it's exciting. We've done these types of seminars all across America. It's evangelism. It's like a Billy Graham event in a way, but it's evangelism for the 21st century because all people, but especially young people, you know, when you say the Bible says Jesus rose from the dead, or, you know, God exists and Jesus Christ rose from the grave, a lot of people are saying, you know, prove it. You know, back up what you're telling me. And what apologetics is about, it's about the evidence for the Christian faith and why we believe what we believe. And the fact that, yes, we believe by faith, but it is a faith backed up with compelling evidence, history, archaeology, the manuscripts of the Bible, science, logic, mathematics, from any vantage point that you would care to look from, you can see that the Christian faith is really true. And today, I mean, dozens of belief systems compete for the hearts and minds of people. And also the view of just unbelief and agnosticism. And more than ever, the church, if you're a Christian, and certainly if you're a Christian parent, we need to make sure that we've imparted to our neighbors and especially our kids, yes, the knowledge of Christ, but also the knowledge that this is really true. And why do we believe what we believe? I would say this, the growing secularism is due to the breakdown of the family. And whenever I'm on a news show, which is just about once or twice a week, it's funny. 20 years ago, I could go on Fox or MSNBC or one of the news outlets, and I might talk about God or morality or truth. And, you know, people might email me, and they would say things like, I used to be in church, but, you know, it was boring, or the pastor was a hypocrite, and I don't go to church anymore. And so we've always had a degree of, you know, sometimes negative responses. But nowadays, it's like of ages, say, 40 and younger, there's just this gleeful mocking of God and blaspheming the idea of God. I was on a show in Las Vegas about a month ago, and I was waiting to go on, and the host was you know, very nice. Dr. McFarland, glad to have you, really glad to have you. And so we went live, and the guy just begins to tear into me, and he said, tell me about your invisible friend, meaning God. And the guy just was taking great delight in expressing his atheism and blaspheming God, which, you know, it doesn't hurt my feelings. You know, when atheists love to curse and blaspheme God, they think that, you know, we Christians are going to say, boo-hoo, you know. It doesn't hurt my feelings, and it's only hurting the atheist when they, you know, give God, you know, the brush off. But my point is this: we're at a time when the rejection of God is very brazen. Atheism has become bold and blasphemous, and again, you know, we Christians, it's no skin off our back if the whole world became an atheist. But we are to plead with sinners about the state of their soul. We are to pray that conviction would fall on an unbelieving lost world. And I would say this: our Constitution cannot stand in a culture of atheism and unbelief. You know, James Madison, who was our second U.S. president and the man that's called the chief architect of the U.S. Constitution, he says, the one who is an enemy of God is an enemy of America. Because we're a free country in this regard. You can believe whatever you want. You can believe any cockamamie thing you want. However, what we can't really allow people to do is to dismantle the context, the foundation on which our Constitution and Bill of Rights and Declaration stand, and that is belief that there is some moral truth. Liberty does not mean anarchy. Freedom does not mean you can do just whatever you want. We have limited liberty. I'm not at liberty to take another person's life, murder. I'm not at liberty to take another person's property, theft. So what's so dangerous about the time in which we live, and this is why we're doing the Truth for a New Generation tour, this is why we're talking with campuses, elected officials, young people, people throughout America, we cannot continue to be a constitutional republic in a state of lawlessness and anarchy. And so the TNG tour, it's about evangelism and winning people to Christ. Frankly, it's about reminding our nation that we were built on God and morality. And if we lose those completely, as we are in the process of doing, we're ultimately going to lose our country. We must return to God, and our prayer is that God will use this to remind that to the American people.
Man, that's great. We are certainly looking forward to it. Alex, thank you so much for what you are doing in campuses. Thank you for what you're doing all across America, and definitely thank you for what you're going to do next week when you come to Rockfish with the Truth for a New Generation tour. Looking forward to hearing Josh McDowell, Mark Mittelberg, and you speak and just breathe into us new things about why we believe what we believe and how we can defend not only our faith but ultimately our Constitution, what our nation was built upon.
Well, we're just thrilled to be coming to one of America's great cities, the greater Fayetteville region, and we love Fort Bragg and all the great history there and the people there now, and we appreciate you so much. May 3, 4, and 5, Friday night, Saturday morning, Saturday night, Sunday morning, truthforanewgeneration.com. We also do a summer camp, an apologetics camp for youth, a lot going on, and we just pray everybody will come, and we look forward to meeting you all there. And bring 5 cans of food for the local food bank, and that's all the admission we ask.
Alex, once again, thank you for your time today.
God bless you. Thank you so much.
All right, brother. Take care.